Igniting the Flame of Resistance, the untold story of indigenous resistance in colonial Peru. In the late 18th century, the colonial occupation called Peru was a landscape of oppression and injustice. Indigenous communities faced land dispossession, exploitation, discrimination, and cultural erasure under Spanish occupation. But amidst the turmoil, a leader emerged who would defy colonial hubris and ignite a flame of resistance that would echo through the ages. His name was Tupac Amaru II, and he would become a visionary leader amongst the Inca in the country currently known as Peru. Born José Gabriel Condorcanqui, and later changing his name Tupac Amaru II. His leadership was inspired by the unjust execution of his father-in-law Antonio Bastidas for simply advocating for justice for his people. Tupac Amaru II's uprising was not just a military campaign. It was a multifaceted struggle for sovereignty, justice, and dignity. Let's explore some of the key victories achieved by Tupac Amaru II and his followers during their courageous resistance against Spanish colonial rule. One of Tupac Amaru II's most remarkable victories was his ability to unify indigenous peoples from diverse regions of Peru under a common cause. Despite centuries of tribal division, Tupac Amaru II succeeded in forging a coalition of communities united in their desire to resist colonial oppression. From the Andean highlands to the Amazon rainforest, indigenous communities rallied behind Tupac Amaru II. Drawn together by a shared sense of injustice and a collective determination to reclaim their sovereignty. Early in the uprising, Tupac Amaru II's forces achieved several strategic victories by retaking control of occupied indigenous villages and strongholds throughout the Andean region. These fortified positions provided crucial defensive advantages and served as bases of operations for further military actions against the Spanish colonial forces. By securing these key strongholds, Tupac Amaru II effectively challenged Spanish dominance in the region and demonstrated the resilience and military prowess of the indigenous resistance. In addition to seizing indigenous fortresses, Tupac Amaru II's forces scored significant victories by capturing Spanish outposts and settlements throughout colonial Peru. These daring raids and assaults dealt a blow to Spanish control over the region and boosted morale among the indigenous population. With each successful capture, Tupac Amaru II and his followers demonstrated their determination to challenge colonial claims to authority and reclaim their ancestral lands. Tupac Amaru II also understood the power of symbolism in the struggle against colonial oppression. Throughout the uprising, his forces orchestrated symbolic occupations of colonial institutions and symbols of Spanish authority. By seizing control of government buildings, churches, and haciendas, the rebels sent a powerful message of defiance and sovereignty, challenging the legitimacy of Spanish rule and asserting their right to self-determination. The rebellion led by Tupac Amaru II inflicted significant economic damage on the Spanish colonial authorities by disrupting key economic assets and trade routes. Rebels targeted Spanish-owned mines, plantations, and trading posts, depriving the colonial regime of vital resources and undermining its economic power. Through acts of economic sabotage and resistance, Tupac Amaru II and his followers struck at the heart of the colonial economy, challenging the exploitative practices that had enriched the Spanish crown at the expense of indigenous lives and labor. Tupac Amaru II's uprising garnered international attention and support, particularly from other anti-colonial movements and sympathetic individuals abroad. News of the rebellion spread across Europe and the Americas, inspiring solidarity and empathy for the indigenous peoples of Peru. The uprising led by Tupac Amaru II was not just a local insurrection. It was a global symbol of resistance against imperial oppression and a rallying cry for liberation and justice. Though ultimately suppressed by a seasoned military backed by the Spanish crown, the rebellion led by Tupac Amaru II left a lasting legacy of resistance and resilience. His courage, leadership, and vision inspired subsequent generations of indigenous leaders and activists to continue the fight for justice, land back, and indigenous sovereignty in Peru and beyond. Tupac Amaru II's victories may have been overshadowed by the brutal suppression of the rebellion, but his spirit lives on as a beacon of hope for indigenous peoples around the world. His legacy reminds us that the struggle for justice and liberation is a journey that spans generations, and that the fight against oppression is always a just cause. In the end, Tupac Amaru II's victories were not just military triumphs. They were triumphs of the human spirit, of resilience in the face of adversity, and of the enduring quest for freedom and dignity. And although his rebellion may have been quelled, his legacy endures as a testament to the power of resistance and the indomitable spirit of the oppressed. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more historical content from past perspectives.